Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios. Locations across the state of Florida, right there at Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. That is International Diamond Center. Gators destroyed the Dogs last night. Another complete game. Guards played outstanding. They are as good as anybody I've seen in basketball on defense in a long time, and that could carry you a long way. So let's talk a little college football with our college football analyst Brent Beaird. We'll also have Kevin Brockway breaking down the basketball game in the second portion of today's program. Good morning, Brent. How you doing? You're on the Titanmore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tip.
Shane, good to be with you again. Yeah, I would certainly agree. Big win for the Gators last night over Georgia, and that they didn't play around at all. That game really was not close at all, and Florida just keeps rolling along.
Very true. Real quick, Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Yesterday when JC said he sets up the golf course, does that mean just pin placements, he's not digging up new bunkers? No. It takes a long time to build bunkers. Very expensive as well. He's talking about just pin placements on the greens. The University of Florida golf course, the Bostic course, has some of the best greens you'll ever play, with undulation and speed, just how they're built. Very difficult to putt, but you can put them in some spots that are extremely, extremely difficult. So that's what he meant by that. All right, Brett. Okay, so Charles Bediako is no longer a college athlete for now.
Right.
There was also another hearing. Well, there's one today for Trinidad Chambliss.
Yes.
But a few days ago, Diego Pavia was still trying to play college football?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I was not aware of that.
Yes, they had a hearing, lasted 3 hours. Now, I don't think they have decided, or the judge has decided on what to do with this yet. So that's still pending. And again, this has something to do with his junior college eligibility. Now, Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, that ruling could come out today, but at least it goes to court. They are reconsidering the denial of his eligibility waiver and appeal. We don't know how that would go, but they think they've got new evidence to allow him to come back for another year, which would make a huge difference for Ole Miss, to say the least. And then Tennessee quarterback, believe it or not, Joey Aguilar, he has a preliminary injunction hearing tomorrow. So it's a busy week, isn't it, Shane, for quarterbacks to go before the judge and plead their case and hopefully have another year of eligibility. So again, we're waiting on Diego Pavia with Vanderbilt, and Trinidad Chambliss is today. Joey Aguilar would be tomorrow. So, Shane, we've never had a situation like this, have we, to where we're dependent on the courts to decide how much eligibility that players have left. And look, these three quarterbacks, maybe Aguilar a little bit less, but these three quarterbacks are paramount to how their team does next year.
Right. And they also realize that once college is over, they're probably done with their football career.
Right. Yes.
These are not NFL guys. Out of any of those, I think Trinidad could be a backup for a few years, possibly in the NFL. I don't know, but I mean, do we have hearings with guys that play left tackle trying to get more years of eligibility?
Well, if we do, Shane, we don't hear much about it, do we?
No, we don't. It's just it's mind-boggling how what's going
It
on.
is, really is.
All right, there are a lot of people out there that do not like all the bowl games that are played. I'm one that does because I just like football, but
Yeah,
a lot of them are going to go away, it looks like.
well, it is, and and particularly if the playoff continues to expand, and it will. Now, there were some teams that opted out of bowl games, and they were fined. People may not know that, but Kansas State and Iowa State were fined $500,000 for not playing in the game. Now, Notre Dame opted out, so they did not play, and they could have played. But they did not. I mean, you win 10, you go 10-2, you can play. And again, I think we all realize there's more expansion that's coming that would go beyond 12 teams. And if the Big Ten had been in agreement, we would have had an expansion this year from 12 to 16 for next year. So we're waiting on that. Now there's some bowls already. The LA Bowl, this is Jimmy Kimmel's bowl. It disappeared, and because it wasn't very successful with that either. So Shane, that's just kind of where we are right now, right? I mean, look, I hope and pray it never goes away, but I understand the reality of this. I mean, even with the Gator Bowl, I mean, we probably did well to have 30,000 people if we had that many at the game. So that's kind of what's going on. I'm with you. The more bowls, the better, but we are losing some of them.
We have I think a little over 200 days until college football kicks off. You want to talk about some of the week 0 games?
Yeah, Hawaii at Stanford, Memphis at UNLV. We've got a couple other games. NC State and Virginia and Rio de Janeiro. TCU in North Carolina and Dublin. And people may miss this, but Florida State is actually playing on week 0. They play New Mexico State. So we'll see where that goes as far as the lineup is concerned, but and how they do. But that a little bit more for week 0. Now, obviously, the big deal for week 0 is a lot of people like to see week 0 either dumb down or go away in order for college football to start a week earlier and maybe to end somewhat earlier. Don't know if that will happen, Shane, but that is certainly out there.
Yeah, John on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Losses. What kind of welcome does Denzel Aberdeen get on Saturday? I hope he doesn't get booed. He was a pivotal piece of last year's team. I don't know. It'll be interesting. He's having a decent year. You got to remember, though, you got to trust your coaches. I know a lot of people were upset when Denzel left, but I think Todd Golden and his staff knew what they were getting out of Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan. I mean, I think they're phenomenal guards. I know a lot of people don't like them because they haven't made a lot of shots, but they do so many other things so very, very well. Boogie's an elite defender, and Xavier Lee's a better defender than you think. Brent, my daughter's name is Brooke, so.
I get it, brother.
Brent, the SEC is not hurting for money that they just distributed to 16 schools.
No, $1 billion to the 16 schools. The total revenue has jumped more than Shane. How would you like to get a $200 million raise from the previous year? That basically has happened. The current total includes $37 million retained by the universities that participated in the playoffs in the bowl games. So I mean, the money is just frankly unbelievable when you look at it, and this is not even what we're going to have when the playoff expands. Again, it didn't expand this year because they weren't in agreement, but you know, and I know that's going to happen sooner than later, frankly. So, and again, the payout for the schools receiving a full share, or the 14 schools receiving a full share, is revenue generated from television, postseason bowl games, the playoffs, the SEC title game, and the men's basketball tournaments in the SEC and the NCAA. So, needless to say, Shane, and they will say they've got money issues, and I understand some of that, but the SEC did rather well again.
Yes, they did. I thought it was interesting. North Dakota State now is going to play with the big boys in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, they sure will. They will pay more than $15 million to get entrance into the conference and NCAA fees. I thought that was interesting. Since the Fargo Dome opened in '93, North Dakota State has a home record of 144-24. That's amazing, isn't it, Shane? 38-2 record in the playoffs too.
Yeah, I don't know if people follow that level of football, but obviously they've been dominating. Also, Montana has been dominating
Yes.
as well. Their head coach resigned a few weeks ago and then was hired by Brent Beaird to be the defensive coordinator at Illinois. And he had a great press conference just saying, it's a waste of my time now being a head coach at that level because you lose too many players to the upper level because you can't pay them. Speaking of that, congratulations to one of my old teammates, Jerry Odom, who has been a longtime football coach. He resigned as the defense coordinator at Western Carolina because the reason I just stated, they lose their good players. They go find these diamonds in the rough, and then a year later, they're gone. He's going to go just do what he loves, coach high school football at Camden County up in Georgia.
Good for him.
So good for him, no doubt about it. John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, what did y'all think of Clemson baseball coach's comments saying they should push the college baseball season back so the northern schools could play more home games? I mean, I hear what he's saying, but I mean, right now, what is the College World Series is mid to late June?
Yes.
So I don't know how they would do that. I mean, wouldn't bother me, but I'm sure a lot of those northern schools would love to be able to play some home games, for sure. All right, so Brent, let's talk about who has the most players going to the combine.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Just a little draft talk here real quick. No doubt it's the SEC and the Big Ten, right, Shane? SEC 114 players, Big Ten 84, ACC had 50 themselves, the Big 12 had 45, Notre Dame had 6, FCS schools had 5, the MAC had 5, the AAC had 4. Now, the most 2026 combine invitees, A&M, golly, this is amazing, isn't it? A&M had 13, Texas A&M, Bama had 12, and LSU and Ohio State had 11. And again, the combines can tell you some things, and I guess some things that they can't, but not a real surprise there, is it, Shane? The conferences who did the best.
I saw this the other day on Twitter and I screenshot it. It says, by college since 2000, which colleges have the most NFL sacks? Who would you think since 2000, which college has the most NFL sacks, Brent?
That's a great question.
And it ain't even close to number 2.
Really?
No.
Well, I'm just drawing a blank, frankly.
Well, it's that school in Athens.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense with Georgia.
So listen to this. They have 1,024 sacks. The next closest is Ohio State at 715, and third are the Florida Gators at 699.
Well, here's the funny thing about that is you hear this, and this is the reason I didn't pick Georgia, is you hear this every year that about mid-year they'll ask Kirby about, well, Coach, you don't have many sacks right now, and he'll say, well, but the main thing is we get pressure on the opposing quarterback. So that really is, to me, that's really amazing because of what you hear out of Kirby's mouth about their reluctance to be able to get sacks.
Well, they're getting sacks on Sundays, not Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an NFL stat.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about guys getting more years of eligibility. This is amazing if people miss this. This Middle Tennessee State kid who was recruited when Obama was the president is still playing football.
Yeah, listen, I don't know how someone actually has done this, but this guy has. His name is Milt, Millz. He is a Middle Tennessee offensive lineman. Has been granted an 11th year of eligibility by the NCAA. Shane, have you ever heard of that?
No,
someone to get double-digit years.
There was a dude I think played tight end for Miami a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Last year they had 9, I think. But
yes,
I mean,
correct.
That just makes no sense. No sense at all.
Really, but and look, how Shane, if you're in your 11th year, part of the agreement here is you've got to be making progress toward the degree. I mean, is he making progress toward the degree? Would take him 2 classes a year or something? I'm not quite
Brent,
sure about that.
the days of being eligible because of academics is gone.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I have not heard of anybody being suspended for academics since I think Ike and Riedel got suspended for some game because they missed a class or something like that.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a damn. And what people don't realize when you transfer, a lot of times your credits don't even go with you.
That's right. That's
so
exactly.
you start all over. So yeah, that's the academic. They ain't no student athlete anymore. It's just a paid athlete is what it is.
Yeah. Yes.
The Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors or find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. All right, Brent, let's go around the SEC. What's going on in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, Alabama has probably, this according to Paul Feinbaum, they were scheduled to play Ohio State in 27 and 28. That's probably going to be canceled because the SEC is adding a 9th game that starts this coming season. And by the way, Alabama has hired Richard Owens as its next tight ends coach. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he actually played high school football at Middleburg High School, Shane, down the street from me here in Clay County. Now, Richard is coached at Louisville, UAB, South Alabama, and Georgia Southern. And he played a little bit NFL. You may remember that. But Alabama bringing in Richard Owens, a familiar name. Alabama's annual homecoming game will be against Texas A&M, and Alabama also, their A-Day game is April the 11th at 1 p.m. I think we'll have a little more regular A-Day games or spring games this year because you've got players, they're not transferring in the mid-April, so that's going to make a big difference. Alabama Athletic Department has a budget surplus for the first time in a few years too. So, and also Kendrick Bingley Jones, a defensive line transfer, just what we were talking about, Shane. He has been granted a waiver for a rare 7th year of eligibility.
Crazy. All right, what's going on with the Florida Gators?
Well, a little emphasis on the kicking game and how that has gone and hopefully improvement along that line. But people may miss this, but Florida opens spring practice on March 3rd. I mean, basically, we're not that far, Shane, from February ending and March beginning for a lot of these teams. So we're going to be talking about spring games before we turn around.
Yeah, for sure. Georgia, they have signed their quarterback to a new deal. How does that sound?
Gunner. Really, Gunner Stockton to sign a new deal for this coming season. Gunnar Stockton's been around quite a while too, to say the least. Way too early rankings from ESPN has Georgia at number 4, by the way. This time of year, folks need something to write, so they come out with early rankings. So Georgia will be in the thick of it again.
Yes, they will. What's going on with the LSU Tigers?
Well, Lane Kiffin has kept Corey Raymond as his cornerbacks coach, and Raymond has done rather well. Obviously, retained Blake Baker on defense. So look, LSU is going to be. I'm not saying they can do it in a year. Will they be better? They probably will. But it's going to take some time for this to kind of settle down, frankly. But look for LSU to be a different football team coming up soon.
John asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, where did the Western Carolina quarterback end up? I think he's still in the portal. I spoke with Kerwin a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he was offered, $300,000 or $400,000 from some major schools to be a backup, but his posse, or however you want to call it, his group of agents and family members said no. Well, he's still sitting in the portal. So I don't know what's going to happen there. He's a good little player. Kerwin would love to have him back, but he can't pay him. What's going on with the Tennessee Vols?
Tennessee is they've had some coaching shifts around. Tim Banks is gone. Jim Knowles is there. People may miss this, but Jim Knowles is one of the best defense coordinators in the nation. Been at Ohio State and also at Penn State. So they're hoping he is going to do a great job. Now, really, Tennessee has maybe less issues on that side of the ball than some teams do, but that's going to be interesting to see where that also goes. Tennessee had a cornerbacks coach, Michael Hunter, that he was on the job 5 weeks and left to go to the NFL. So and Shane, the problem right now, and you can certainly speak to this, coaches are looking at this as well. There's a lot of things if I go to the NFL, I don't have to do that I have to do in college. So that's maybe some of the reason you're seeing some of these guys leave even after they've taken a college job for a short period of time.
Well, I always said my goal in life was to be a college football coach, but things turned out differently. I played too long, blah, blah, blah. There is no way in the world I'd want to coach college football in today's world. Wow. Just too much you have to deal with. And then Jerry Oden's a prime example. These guys like to coach football, they like to build relationships. You can't do that in today's world. It's, you have a relationship with Brent Beaird. I got you on campus. You're coming to play wide receiver for me, but then School X calls and gives you another $100,000 more than we can afford. You're gone. Yep. That's exactly what's happening. I failed to mention South Carolina. I want to congratulate the head ball coach going into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame this year. Brent, you want to tell him what he said on one of the interviews?
Yeah. He was asked about Dabo Swinney's calling out Ole Miss for tampering. His quote was, "Someone has to tell Dabo there are no rules now."
No, there are none. None.
Shane, can anybody sum up life like Steve Spurrier can?
He's great. It's funny because I have an old iPhone, Brent, that I need to get a new one, but I'm terrible about going, and you got to transfer everything, blah, blah, blah.
I know.
I probably have 25 voicemails that I have saved on my phone from Coach Spurrier that he's left me. They're classic.
I bet they are.
From many, many years. And I will never, hopefully my phone will last. And if I do transfer them, I can transfer those or save them somehow because they are great. They are absolutely great. John's question for you on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Laws. Brent, do you see a quick turnaround for James Franklin at Virginia Tech, or do you think it'll take some time?
Well, I think it'll take some time, but they love him there. I mean, it's going well. frankly, look, I remember the days, and it wasn't that long ago, when Virginia Tech was really, really good, considered one of the better teams in the country. Unfortunately, that has not happened as of late, but that was probably the perfect place for him. He could go. He won't have the pressure that he had, obviously, at Penn State, and he can take his time turning it around. But look, he's still a good football coach. They had a good recruiting class, and I think a portal class. So it may not take as long as people think it is for him to start turning that around. That's a good question. That's really one to watch.
Brent, what's going on in Tallahassee? I mean, we know that they lost a lot of money last year, but what's going on with the football program?
They are expected to hire, and if you know how to pronounce this, please tell me, Gabe Ferretti is a director of football strategy and offensive assistant coach. He was the OC at Nicholas State in 2025, spent the previous years as an FSU analyst, worked in quality control at Louisville, so he has been at some different programs, but Gabe Ferretti is the newest addition at FSU.
You got any nuggets before we get you out of here?
Yeah, by the way, Texas, obviously people, I'm sure they're aware, Arch Manny's coming back next year, but they are trying to get their running back room better. Derek Cooper and a couple of transfers, Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers, are also coming in. Cooper ran for 1,000 yards as a senior, so they like him. Hollywood Smothers actually committed to Alabama, then changed his mind, and he went to Texas. One name I did want to throw in here real quick was if I can find it, was a hire. Yeah, here it is. The SEC made a hire, Roman Oben, as Vice President of Football Developmental Strategy for the National Football League, and a 12-year NFL playing veteran. I don't know if you know him, Shane, at all, but he has been hired now, going to be senior leader for football operations, policy, stakeholder engagement. There are a lot of things we don't deal with, so we probably don't know what a lot of this is about, but he is the latest hire from the SEC for a new job, and it kind of makes me wonder if they may not be looking at him maybe as commissioner or something of that ilk years down the road.
Brent, I haven't looked at Florida State's football schedule, but do they do a home and home with Bama? Do they go to Tuscaloosa?
Yes. Yeah. Toward the end of September, they go to Tuscaloosa. You're right on that. Yes.
Okay. Good stuff as always, Brent. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good. Look forward to it, bud. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan More hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. This Day in Sports brought to you by Peachland Dentistry. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go check them out at peachlanddental.com. 2023 Super Bowl out in Arizona in Glendale. The Chiefs beat the Eagles 38-35. Your MVP was Pat Mahomes. We're going to take a quick time out. We come back. We'll have Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. We'll talk Gator hoops. They're hot, folks. They are very hot. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. Coming to you from the International Diamond Center studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
The jewelry store with the most likes, the most positive reviews, the most raving fans is International Diamond Center.
IDC is definitely a place that I will come to as long as I live here. This will be my go-to place always.
Literally the best jewelry store in town. You'll make friends for life coming in here. I felt like family from the beginning. The value was extraordinary.
I've got a beautiful diamond on my finger and I'm very proud of it.
International Diamond Center.
I'm very happy to show it off.
At Celebration Point and online at shopidc.com.
Coach, you know, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office, a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right. With the right insurance options for you and your family, visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan Number hotline courtesy of Comfort Temple. We're joined by the Gainesville Sun's Kevin Brockway. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Good morning, Shane. How are you?
Good. Real quick before we jump into Gator basketball, John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, FSU's turning Doak into Banana Ball and next month hosting PBR at Doak. They're desperate for money. I did not realize that the Savannah Bananas are going to play there. And then PBR, I assume that is professional bull riding, which that'd be kind of cool to go watch. So interesting. They need money, I guess.
You know, the Gators have what, Morgan Wallen coming to the Swamp?
You're damn right we do. I'm going.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, these
2 days, 2 nights, 2 back-to-back. That will make more money than anything that we could possibly ever do.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. I mean, was Garth was a big hit, right? I was in Indiana.
He was, but I think Garth was only here one night, but I would go out on a limb and say that maybe Garth in his heyday, there's no comparison to the people that come out to see Morgan Wallen. No way.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be pretty good, and we'll see if Florida can put that money to good use, right?
Yes, 850 Gator saying Amanda Lambert's going to be in the concert. The same, I think he's talking about Miranda Lambert.
Miranda Lambert, yes, that Amanda.
She's very good in concert. She can sing.
Yeah.
Not like Kevin Brockway with his karaoke. Hey, all right, Kevin, last night, another dominating performance by the Gators. They're playing as good as anybody in America. Obviously, it was nice to see. Look, I haven't been one that's been real negative on our guards because I think they do so many other things well. We know they haven't shot the ball well, but last night it was a good thing to see that between Lee, Boogie, and Isaiah Brown, they had a good little stat line going.
Yeah, lots of production from the backcourt, which is huge. And Xavier Lee had that good first half, and then hit a big three in the second half. I think Boogie hit a big three at the end of the shot clock. Or was that his first three in like 7 games? And it was a late shot clock one. But I do think too, the physicality still is what sets this team apart. And Chinyelu 20 rebounds last night. I mean, he was a beast again. But it was good to see you get that kind of backcourt and production from Lee in particular, because he's a guy, that's been kind of up and down and maybe more down than up in SEC play. That was probably his best game since his UConn game. I mean, 18 and 6 assists. He was terrific. Isaiah Brown is really emerging into a nice player off the bench right now, a guy that you can depend on. He had a big 3-point play in the second half of that game. They got up 22, and then they had some lulls offensively. They turned it over a lot, 14. Condon had 7 turnovers. That was probably about, the only thing you could, criticize about that game was he was a little careless with the ball, and the team at times was. But, when they needed to separate, and, Georgia got it down to 10 a few times, but when they needed to separate and hit big shots, they did it and took care of them. And, Tom Golden, 8-1 against Mike White. I mean, that's turning out to be quite the trade-off.
Yes, for sure. Real quick, we'll get back to basketball, but I had to read this comment from Dan on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. He says, Doak Campbell, available for weddings, bar mitzvahs, bachelor parties. Please contact Coach Norvell for bookings. That was pretty funny.
They need money up there, so they're going to do what they can. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy's question for you, Kevin, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. What do you attribute Chinyulu's dramatic improvement this year? How much is it coaching?
I think a lot of it. Yeah, you got to give Carlin Hartman a lot of credit, and it's I wrote about this earlier in the year, and and then it's also Ruben just going in and putting in the time too. That's it, because players, the ones that I've seen over the years that have developed and gotten better, the Scotty Wilbekins, the Chandler Parsons, Joakim Noah, they made the decision to live at the gym and put in the time and work on their skill set to get it better. And Ruben has done that. And he's going to see the fruits of that, come, certainly come June in the NBA draft. Like, he's probably worked his way into a first round pick for sure. So I think that's going to be something that, and probably Naismith Defensive Player of the Year as well. He's going to be in the running for that. He's going to be running for SEC Player of the Year right now, and definitely a first team All SEC, or maybe a first team All American. So I think he's done a lot this year. Deserves a lot of credit. That was a really nice kind of drop step and fake and post move at the end of the game. I think he's got it going right now on all cylinders.
Yeah, the beauty about Ruben is the one thing you can't coach is that body type, right? He was blessed with a great body, and he has. I think what the great thing about Ruben is he knows what he can and cannot do offensively.
Yeah.
He doesn't try to do anything crazy. And if he can't make a move down low, he throws it back out to one of our guards. So, but defensively, if he doesn't win Defensive National Player of the Year, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. We got a lot of people chiming in about Condon, 7 turnovers. Condon to me is he's an interesting character because he makes those splash plays, as I like to call them. And then he makes about 7 or 8. And you're going, what are you doing? And if it's like he has no awareness when he's in the paint that multiple people are going to be reaching and grabbing for the basketball. But just your assessment of him, I mean, he's a guy that can run the court. When he runs the court and gets the alley-oops and the dunks and stuff, that's what he does best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That's what he does very well, is when he's in transition and he plays to his game a little bit. He hasn't been taking the threes, but I do think sometimes he gets a little stuck on those dribble handoffs, and he just kind of tries to hold it too long instead of making a quick decision. I mean, he's a good passer, but at times, I think he tries to do a little too much with the passing, and I think that showed too. There was one where he had that kind of whip around, and he threw it out of bounds.
He threw it 100 miles. He was about 6 feet away from Chinyelu, and he threw it 75 miles an hour. He couldn't even caught it. There's no way.
Yeah, so I think that sometimes with Alex, less is more. I still think pressing a little bit, because of certainly being under the eyes of the NBA scouts as well, and he came back for that. So It's interesting, but in the Alabama game, you had all three of them clicking. You had Hauk, you had Alex, and you had Chinulu all clicking. And if you have all three of those guys clicking, but the beauty of the team, the way it is now, with Flan and certainly Xavier playing a little better, is you can have different guys step up on different nights, and I think like last night was more the backcourt and Lee's night, and then Isaiah Brown's night off the bench. Maybe another game it'll be Klavshar. So coming off the bench and doing something. So I think that's the sign of a good team, and it's a team that's getting deeper and has multiple options now that can hurt you.
This text on the Titan More text line. I was at the game in Athens. We struggled to put the game away coming out at halftime. And once we got up to 22 in the second, 20 points was a big win, but not against an undermanned and undercoached UGA team. Condon really struggled. Micah really stepped up defensively too. That's another guy who is a great teammate, knows what he can and cannot do, is Micah Hanlockton. I want to talk to you about our guards. What are your thoughts on the guards? Most people look at guard play and they just think three-point shooting. I think the ball handling and how both Boogie and Xavier have taken care of the ball, the last 3 or 4 games. I think that's going to be huge come tournament time. What do you say?
Yeah, and you look at them both; they both have 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratios, and also the defense. And I think Boogie is defending a lot better. I think obviously he had kind of like the hernia issues over the summer, and I think that bled into the non-conference a little bit. He wasn't defending as well. Now you see him; he's all over the court. So I think that's and Xavier is growing defensively a little bit. Klavshar, I think, plays very hard defensively, and Isaiah Brown he's a good athlete. And he can. He's still learning a little bit, but he has the athleticism to stay in front of guys on the perimeter too. So I think that's the other key component to it, and that's where guys like Martin and Richard last year were so underrated, was their ability to defend. And we saw Boogie, the Alabama game, he got 8 steals too. The big play, forcing turnovers, getting easy runouts, easy baskets, that has tremendous value. So. If they could do it on the defensive end as well, and continue to grow and develop there, that's going to go a long way, especially with the 3-point shooting, because the 3-point shooting is hot and cold. It was certainly hot the other night, but this is a team that, because of their inconsistent shooting, is going to have to defend the 3-point line very well, and keep the number of makes at the minimum, because that's a way they can lose in the tournament, is if a team, sticks like 10 or 15 threes on them and they only hit 7 or 8.
Atlantic Roofing, you're roofing experts for residential and commercial roofing with more than 50 years of local experience. Kanye Ron's question for you, Kevin, here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Any news on the basketball recruiting front? Is Golden now attracting top 5-star recruits?
It's tricky. At Florida, it's always going to be tricky because it's still like the blue bloods compared to Kansas and North Carolina. They're the glamour. But I think you have to just trust Todd and his evaluations, basically, because, what was Alex Condon? What was Thomas Hauk? He won a national championship without a top 100 national recruit. So I think high school recruiting in basketball has become less and less of a factor. That was 10 years ago when you had the one and dones. That day is over. You got to go in the transfer portal. You got to get those guys. They do have Jones Lay, who they signed, the 7-footer from North Carolina, who is kind of like a 3-star, similar to a Tommy Hauk type guy that they're going to try to grow and develop.
Yeah, when you look at last year's team and this year's team, the highest recruited kid we have from a ranking standpoint is Boogie Flan.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 Monty on the Titan More text line says, I wish UF would revitalize Gator Growl as part of homecoming, bring in some big names like they used to back in the day, and sell tickets as a fundraiser for NIL. I agree.
Yes. I was there, in 2007 when they had Caliendo and Leonard Skinnard.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty good. That was a good night. And that was when they still had it at the Swamp. And then when did they move it to Flavette? Like in 2010 or 2000?
Yeah, and I think it's in the O-Dome now. I don't know. I just remember because we lived in Yon Hall, which is in the stadium, and that week, you could hear the rehearsal going on while you were in your dorm room, and sometimes we just walk out and sit in the stands and watch it because we didn't get to see it. They introduced the seniors briefly at Gator Growl, but other than that, we never got to see it, but we could see it while they were rehearsing. But I agree. In today's world, you got to do everything you possibly can to raise money.
I'll tell you a funny story. When I went there on a date, and I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm going to see a concert, and I'm going to see, Caliendo and stuff, and where I graduated, right? And I didn't realize we had to do all the Hokie Gator stuff, like put our hands together and we are the boys and everything like that. But it was kind of fun for a night, though, to pretend to be a Gator grad, even though I wasn't.
Kevin on the Titan Bar text line says, "Is Tide Golden the basketball equivalent of Kurt Signetti?"
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would say certainly, you look at what he's done. I would disagree in this standpoint. Florida had a baseline of success under Billy Donovan where they've won national championships. Kurt did not have that. Indiana was completely in the wilderness for many a year. So I would make the argument that Billy Donovan was probably more like Signetti because, Florida basketball before Billy Donovan, there was, no history of, major national championship success.
Yeah, John Jett here says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, it's funny how Michigan State's considered a blue blood when they haven't won a natty since 2000. So if you go back to 2000, for the last 25 years, doesn't Florida have more national titles than anybody other than UConn?
UConn does, yeah.
Yeah, it's UConn then Florida, right?
UConn then Florida, and I think Duke might have as many this century. Yeah, I think Duke has 3. But yeah, I think with Michigan State, you have
they still think of Magic Johnson.
Well, I think Izzo has stayed there a long period of time. They have been to a lot of Final Fours. They've been to about 8 or 9 Final Fours. The Big Ten hasn't won it since 2000 either. Like, there's no other team. And a lot of Big Ten teams have kind of knocked on the door. They've been in the finals since then, but nobody's won it, which is pretty amazing. Like, I remember the question I asked Greg Sankey last year when Florida won it was, hey, look, is this kind of the cherry on the top, this SEC? Well, he referred to it as a cherry on the top, and I said, did that have to validate the SEC's great season to have a national championship? Because Florida was the first SEC team to win a national title since Kentucky in 2012. So.
MSRK says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, the thing about Golden success is the NBA will be calling soon. What do you think about that? Somebody mentioned earlier, I wanted to bring it up. This basketball team kind of feeds off their coach, right? The swagger of their coach. I just don't know if Tide would be a good NBA fit.
I've talked to someone that I respect that thinks he would be a good NBA coach, but I do think also the trend has not been there, right? Like for college coaches to go to the NBA and be successful. I think the NBA has realized that, most of their coaches now are being hired from the assistant ranks. I mean, there's very few. I mean, Beeline flamed out, right? Brad Stevens for a while was okay, but then he even moved upstairs. And Billy is, just been kind of up and down in Chicago, and I think that, that's going to be interesting. But it seems like management has faith in him because, last year they wouldn't let him talk to the Knicks. So, but I think it's been hard for the college people to have that high level of success. And I think that that's something that, it's going to be very hard to see, I think, an NBA GM take a chance on a college coach. So I think that you're going to be pretty safe with Todd, at least for the next couple of years, unless that trend somehow changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd do fine, but he just the feel and his relationship with the players. I don't know. I just think maybe it's because he's so young. I don't know what it is. Let's talk about Kentucky. They roll into the O-Dome Saturday. What's crazy is they have not played good basketball. It doesn't seem like. You look up though, this game is basically, I want to say they're 1 game behind the Gators for first place in the SEC. What can you tell us about Kentucky? And do you think Denzel Aberdeen, a lot of people have asked, will be booed on Saturday?
I hope not, but it could happen. I think the Rowdies will get into it a little bit with him. But, when you look at the Denzel situation, I think it was a mutual thing on both sides. I mean, it was a value judgment, right? And they decided that he wasn't worth what he was asking, and he went somewhere else. But I do think that Marino is not a bad big guy, but I don't know if Kentucky, again, another team. I mean, we were discussing this off air. I think with the SEC, it's just who in this league has the size and the physicality to match Florida right now. I don't think that there's really any or many teams. I mean, Texas has a little bit of size. Missouri has some size, but it's just hard, And I think that that's what Florida does. They just wear on teams, and I think that's why you're seeing them have the run. Now, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting where they get in the tournament, and they get in the second weekend and they face, maybe a Big 12 or Big 10 team with a little size and a little skill. Let's see what they do there. But right now, I just don't, I see them on the path to, this is the first time they've been first alone in the SEC since 2014, which is amazing when you think about it. But I just don't see anyone in the SEC really challenging them at this point at the level they're playing.
Let's do what coaches aren't supposed to do. Let's look ahead. You just mentioned it, getting into the tournament. What teams out there from a physicality standpoint, size can match up with us? I think we played Arizona the first game of the year or the second game of the year. We lost to them. We're playing better now. I know they have a couple do they have enough size on their entire roster? Michigan, UConn, I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out. We know the physicality of the Houston Cougars, but out of those teams, can they match up with our physicality and our size?
Yeah, Houston, I mean, Michigan, what Dusty May has there. There are a few teams, but I do, and Arizona, I do think, Pete, we saw him, he's still playing at a high level. He's a very athletic, strong guy. But I do think that, you got to be concerned also about a matchup maybe with a team that can allow threes too, because of the 3-point line, because that could put this team in a bind as well. I mean, but I do think that, they're in very good position to at least get to the second weekend, and then we'll go from there and see what they can do.
Yeah. Andy says here, Duke and Kansas. Now, Kansas is an interesting team. If that kid, what is his name? DP, the kid from Kansas that plays
Patterson,
half a game or takes
yeah.
himself out because he's sick.
Yeah, Patterson, yeah.
Patterson, yeah. He's a special player.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of really talented freshmen throughout the country, and obviously, Florida saw Boozer and Duke as well. So Houston's got one. So it's going to be, like I said, it'll be interesting, because I would project right now they're going to be a top 4 seed somewhere, maybe even in the 2 to 3 range. But you never know what can happen in the tournament. But if you get a 3 or a 1 in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, that would be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. Kevin, great stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, at Kevin Brockway G1, and you can get our sports on Gainesville.com, Gatorsports.com.
Appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
That's Kevin Brockway joining us on the Titan and More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort. Thanks to him and our man Brent Beaird for joining us today on the program. Tomorrow we'll have JC and we'll have Coach Kevin O'Sullivan on the program. Have a great day, folks. Take care.